Hey there, Knicks fans. We are so excited to announce that Fanatics Fest is back in New York City this summer, taking over the Jacob Javits Center from Thursday, July 16th to Sunday, July 19th. You can meet your favorite athletes from every major league, including current Knicks like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns, and the legend, my guy, Patrick Ewing. Catch live podcasts and panels featuring some of the biggest names in sports while experiencing interactive activations from top leagues and brands. You could also grab exclusive merch and discover one-of-a-kind memorabilia from sports and entertainment, buy, sell, and trade collectibles with hundreds of top dealers, and best of all, connect with fans from around the world who share your passion for sports. Tickets are on sale now at fanaticsfest.com, and when you use that promo code KnicksFilm10 at checkout, you will get 10% off your purchase. How about that? It's an extra day of the world's #1 sports fan festival coming together under one roof, and you will not want to miss it. Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another edition of the Knicks Film School Postgame Show, presented by Fanatics Sportsbook, where we are here to talk about a game that was a game for, I don't know, half a quarter. And I feel like I said that exact same line. Well, what is it? Today is Tuesday. I think I said that exact same line 15 days ago. Again, when they, of course, played the Dallas Mavericks. Maybe I didn't say it was a game for about a half a quarter. Maybe I said it was a game for about like 2 possessions before it was very clear that the Knicks had no intention of playing a basketball game. That is the last game the Knicks have lost, because we are now here to talk about a 7th straight win. We could figure out which of the 7 wins was the easiest win. There have certainly been some big wins over this streak, the biggest of which came against the Nets, but there was a lot of pressure going into that game. So despite the fact that the Knicks won that game by 1 billion points, I know how I was feeling going into that game, and I don't know about you, but it certainly was not anywhere near certain that was going to be a victory, let alone a resounding victory. Tonight, I think more than any other game this season, I went into this one being like, just how many is it going to be by? Yeah, I guess there's always that slim possibility of the Knicks are going to come out and maybe be flat, because it's a team that they know that they essentially just have to show up and they will win. And that is why, again, it's the Wizards. I get it. We all get it. We get the assignment, and we get what happened tonight. And yet I think that there is something even honorable in how they came out in the first quarter of this game, and there was no moment in the first quarter, or really at any time during the relevant portion of this game, which was, I don't know, a quarter and a half. When did they go up by 30? I feel like they went up by 30 midway through the second, or whereabouts. There was no portion during the relevant, the competitive portion of this game. There was no moment where we were like, oh, this is going to be a game. The Knicks came in, they acted like the team that was the much better team. They played like the team that was the much better team. And they gave the Wizards absolutely no hope whatsoever from the opening tip. And look, we've seen that performance from the Knicks, where we have seen similar performances, or I should say similar results from the Knicks earlier this year and over the last few years. What I really loved about how they did it tonight, and look, what are they, 13-35 or 13-36 now? There is a chance that the Wizards will not win 3 more games this year, and I am not being facetious. They are. I said it before the season. I said it after the trade, and I'm saying it now. Knicks ain't getting that first round pick. That's going to convert as 2 seconds. Good news is one of those picks is going to be a 31st pick in the draft. But I digress. So, took care of business, acted as you would expect the Knicks to act, did so on the defensive end, and they, continued this stretch here where, there were a couple shames of this night, most of which came in our bets for the evening, both my betting and sweating picks and our best bets, which we're going to get to in a little bit. But the only real shame of the evening is the Knicks could not get another game in which they kept an opponent under 100 points because the Wizards, had a couple of buckets there late. But, they set the exact sort of tone that you want them to set. The players only meeting that was not a players only meeting that Jalen Brunson is not taking credit for, and that didn't happen. And it's a figment of our imagination. I don't know if it was that. I don't know if it was something else. I have no fucking clue why this team decided that they were going to start playing basketball for real this year and treating this season with the level of seriousness that a team in the next position should treat it with, and put whatever stuff was maybe going on behind the scenes behind them. But they did it. And look, they have a game tomorrow, which is going to be, arguably the toughest game of this stretch. And that is no disrespect to the Toronto Raptors. That's no disrespect to the Los Angeles Lakers. But the Denver Nuggets are a different animal. And they, after a valiant second half comeback, are about to fall to the Detroit Pistons in Detroit. So the good news, Nuggets will be coming off of a back-to-back as well. Bad news, the Knicks, we obviously haven't heard anything about Josh Hart yet. Josh Hart left this game with what appeared to be a sprained ankle. Hopefully it's not severe. Hopefully he can go. Hopefully the Knicks are more or less healthy, other than Deuce McBride. We will get to Deuce shortly. But the Nuggets are down some guys too. So neither team is going to be 100%. But that's going to be the biggest test, so far. That's going to be the biggest test. It's at home. That helps. But we'll see how they can handle the big guy and how they can face a Denver team that playing with a ton of confidence. They know they're going to be there at the end of the line. For them, it's just about how healthy are they going into the playoffs. So you could argue that this is going to be the biggest test the Knicks have had. I mean, actually, other than the NBA Cup, and the semis and the final there, because clearly they felt those stakes and clearly they appreciated and respected those stakes and they wanted that thing. I think you could argue that this will be other than like the Brooklyn game for a very different reason, that this will be the most meaningful game that the Knicks will have, like in terms of what we get from them tomorrow against this Denver team. You could argue that it is the most hashtag meaningful game that they will play this year, because clearly they have respect for the opponent and they're playing well. So this will be a good test. Go in, you're playing good ball. The team you're playing has been playing good ball, toe to toe. Let's see who comes out on top. Let's see where the Knicks stack up against one of the best teams in the league. Again, albeit not fully whole. But again, the Knicks are not going to be fully whole either. As far as this game tonight, specifics about this game tonight, I mean, I don't know what you want to really talk about. This game was non-competitive. We can talk about Karl Anthony Towns. It was nice to see Karl Anthony Towns get going in some ways that we haven't really seen Cat get going in a while. He had some drives that were, the one where he finished with the dunk on Sarr, that was really nice in the end one. Couple of other nice drives, couple of other drives that were maybe a little less nice, but I don't think he got called for any offensive fouls tonight. If he did, I apologize. I don't remember it. Only one personal foul in the evening. I don't think it was offensive foul. So that's a good sign. Got a three to go down. If he missed his first three, that was a good sign as well. OG Anunoby keeps his hot streak going. He's made about half of his threes over the last, whatever it is, 5-6 games. That's great. Mikal Bridges, good to see him get off the shooting tonight. 23 points on 10 field goal attempts. Brunson, the shot still seems maybe a little bit off. 1 of 6 from deep, 7 of 16 overall. Is he 100% physically? I don't know. He would never cop to it. I mentioned Josh Hart with the ankle. Hopefully he's all right. The most important numbers for tonight, 27, 26, 22, 26, 31. Those are your minutes played for the starters. So, 7 o'clock start time. Hopefully they could get out of that arena, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight. I don't know what the commute is to the airport from where the Wizards play. Are they going to be sleeping in their own beds, God willing, by, more? Here, I'll put it this way. I think there's a chance the Knicks get to bed before I get to bed tonight. So that's a great sign with the Denver Nuggets coming up tomorrow. But the Nuggets are going to be traveling as well, and they're going to sleep in a hotel tonight. So as far as the bench guys go, rough night for Tyler Kolek shooting wise, but you like the aggressiveness. I thought he was fine. Landry Shamet keeps his insane shooting going, 4 for 6 from the field. It was nice to see Clarkson get the ball in the basket a few times. I feel bad for Jordan Clarkson because he's just, this is not what he signed up for, and I'm sure this is not what he thought he was going to be getting. Look, especially if Josh Hart does not play tomorrow. And I didn't even mention Mo Diawara, who, what an exciting start to the game he had, and then unfortunately looked like it was a very bad ankle injury. James Edwards III reported at halftime that he was out warming up. So that's a great sign. He obviously did not play in the second half, but hopefully that's not a severe injury. But with Deuce down, with Josh, again, his status for tomorrow is going to be questionable. I know Mitch will be back, but I would think at this point, Clarkson's probably going to get minutes tomorrow. Even if it's some spot minutes, even if it's 4 or 5 minutes in the first half or something. Again, that's kind of dependent on Hart, but we'll see. And then the only DMP tonight, not surprisingly, Gershon Yabusele. So are they going to be able to move Gershon by the trade deadline? That is, I think we have kind of centered in on that as the biggest question concerning this Knicks team. I don't want to say the Giannis thing is over before the deadline. I think it's over. I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's been enough tea leaves that you could read. And there's been enough. I think there's enough. There's enough out there. And I don't see it happening before the deadline. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen in the offseason, which obviously depends on whether there's another team that blows the Bucks just out of the water with their offer. But we'll get into that, I'm sure, at some point tonight. All eyes on Yabusele. What are they going to be able to flip Yabusele into, if anything? I would imagine that they will be able to flip him into something. And I thought James and Fred had a great conversation on the most recent episode of Cast and Shoot when they were talking about how, they're not just going to throw assets away to turn Yabusele into like a more palatable player who they're not going to play minutes. I think they're going to throw enough assets behind him to get a guy that they can play, and whether that includes a young player in the deal or whether it becomes even more expensive, I don't think it will. We'll see. But the Knicks, I think they got to do something. And that's not any shade on Kolek. It's certainly not any shade on Shamet. But look, I choose my words carefully here. We learned today that Deuce is getting an MRI. I will just say I'm not optimistic about that. I am expecting to hear not great news when we finally hear, and I don't think we're going to hear before the trade deadline. You remember the OG Anunoby situation in 2024, where I forget what nonsense they said that was before the deadline, and then after the deadline, the man got surgery. I'm not saying that that's 100% that's where the Deuce thing is headed. I just have a bad feeling. Let me just leave it at that. And so if Deuce is going to be down for any appreciable period of time, and I feel like he is, then all of a sudden you're looking at your team and it's a team that like quite literally cannot afford another injury. And even if putting Deuce aside, even if they're fully healthy, who's your eighth man? After Landry Shaman and after Mitchell Robinson, who again, not exactly a picture of health either. Is it, I guess it's Kolek, right? Maybe, Clarkson, maybe does he surpass Kolek? Probably not, but that's not, if you're a team that's trying to compete for a championship and you are going down the stretch of this season, and I understand a lot of the focus is already on the playoffs and just get to the playoffs healthy and the whole thing. And hopefully Deuce is going to be good for the playoffs. But I just don't think you could go down the stretch of the season like that. And I think they have to turn Yabusele into something. Somebody you could go in and play 20, 25, maybe, something like that amount of minutes. Lots of other stuff flying around the league today as far as trades that I think, indirectly impact the Knicks as far as what competitors around the Eastern Conference are doing to improve, doing to reshape their teams, doing to potentially put themselves in a position to make a run at Giannis Antetokounmpo either in the next, 42 hours? So almost 10 o'clock, 41 hours. In the next 41 hours or this summer. Lots of stuff flying around. Happy to talk about any of that tonight. Whatever you guys want to shoot the shit over. Last thing I will say, and this is obviously the most important piece of news. It took 50 games, 50 games, but it has finally happened. Jalen Brunson has won the Defensive Player of the Game. And you know what? For that, hold on. I have one more beer in my beer fridge. Hang on. I'm gonna crack one open in honor of my guy. There it is. Here, Jalen. I just realized I don't have to have my headphones on because I'm just talking to myself. All right. Jalen, congratulations, my friend. Took you long enough, but you earned it. Mark, you toasting as well? Hey, there you go. Okay. Did I forget anything? This is such a crazy day. I'm a little, I don't know if you could tell, I'm a little out of sorts today. One, I had just a very busy day, and I haven't, when you have a day when you the craziness starts at 8 a.m. and you never get a chance to ground yourself. Like that was my day today. And now it's whatever it is, 10 o'clock. So 14 hours later, and I'm still not grounded. Maybe I'll be grounded by the end of this post-game live stream. Yeah, it's Mark. Apparently Mark had the same day as me. So just, it was such a crazy day. Like maybe that's part of it is whenever there's a crazy day of transactions around the league, and this day of transactions around the league, I mean, significantly impacted. Let's just go through the teams: Detroit, Boston, Cleveland, Chicago. What is Chicago doing? I mean, who the hell knows what Chicago's ever doing? So that's 4 teams right there. And then who am I forgetting? Minnesota. What they're doing something. Clippers, Memphis, obviously, Triple J, and Utah. Making a big push. So that's right there. That's a quarter of the teams in the league. Oh, that's a good idea, Mark. So yeah, why don't we do that real quick before we get to best bets? So as I think this is everything. So just I'm not gonna go over like the nitpicky of or the specifics of every single trade, but in no particular order, Jaren Jackson Jr., end of an era in Memphis. Got traded to Utah in what I thought was not a salary dump. That's too aggressive, but it was like I think I texted this to a few people. It was a salary dump with lipstick and mascara and blush and a pretty hat. You know, the Grizzlies got 2 picks in the 2027 draft that are not going to be great in all likelihood. And then they got a distant Phoenix pick, which, like, all right, that pick might be something. But, like, they didn't get any really high-level young players. You know, the Grizzlies just got a bunch of salary. And it is, on its face at first, it's like, wow, man, Jaren Jackson Jr., former Defensive Player of the Year, guy who could impact the games defensively. And then you look at the contract. And then you think about the Trae Young trade, and you think about all of the very good reporting over what a cat trade would look like. And you look at, again, speaking of Fred Katz, something that we've talked about several times over the last several months, which is that this, you know, this like automatic, I'm an all NBA level player, give me my max. Those days are done. You know, and we are entering a new Jonas Plout, my guy who wrote this fantastic 4-part series for the Knicks Film School newsletter for Substack, wrote all about this notion of like the trade value of the secondary star in the league today, and how it is essentially not non-existent, but like you're not getting this the package that like traditionally you would have thought like, oh, Jaren Jackson Jr. like that, he's a premium asset. If the Grizzlies ever tried to move him, they would get this, that, and the other. Those days are done. You know, those days are done. And obviously you look at Jaren's contract and the fact that and I mentioned this to someone else today, he's kind of a tweener, but like not in a great way, because, you know, you play him at the 5 and you're going to have all sorts of defensive rebounding issues. And, you know, you're just a little small. But if you play him at the 4, like it kind of neuters what he kind of can do as far as helping your offense. And like, who is his ideal 5 if he's going to play next to a 5? So, you know, tricky-ish fit. I've liked him. I would have probably taken a chance there. So that's one trade. Clippers, Cavs, Harden for Garland. Cleveland sending the second with Garland to LA. I mean, I could talk for an hour about that trade. I won't, because this is a Knicks post game, but just fascinating on so many levels. Harden's playoff reputation, like Cavs ostensibly should still be trying to win the East this year, and they're taking on a guy who is perhaps the biggest playoff underperformer in modern NBA history, give or take a Karl Malone. And Harden's worse than Malone, to be clear. You know, but they also get you know, if you just compare them as players, James Harden today in a vacuum versus Darius Garland today in a vacuum, even when healthy, probably you'd say Harden is just, I mean, he's been better this year. And then you factor in Garland's injury situation, and that's the fascinating part, because Garland is clearly hurt. He hasn't played. He's played 25 games all year. He doesn't look like himself in the games that he's played. You know, and again, a guy with a lot of future money tied to him. Not mega money, but enough money. And so, you know, LA betting on, hey, we could rehabilitate this guy, figure out whatever the injury is, and we turn a guy that was going to be an expiring contract for us into a player that may be part of our next core. So you get it from there. But from Cleveland's perspective, just what a fascinating gamble. And I wonder what they know about Garland's injury status. So that's that. The 3-team trade with Minnesota, Chicago, and Detroit swapping out Jaden Ivey, going to Chicago in order to get Kevin Huerter. I was looking at Huerter. Well, we don't have to go there. But you know, Huerter's he's not shooting it this year. He's shooting at 31% this year, but he's a shooter. You have to guard him. Detroit needed a shooter. I don't know if this is the shooter that, you know, I would have gone out and get, because he's kind of a defensive liability. But it speaks a lot to how much Jaden Ivey's trade value has just sunk into the gutter. That this is essentially all that he returned. But you know, will Huerter help Detroit? Probably. I mean, it'll be interesting. How does he change their defensive identity? You know, he's not a walkover, but I don't know. So that's interesting to me. And then Minnesota, it's just they're cutting money for what? Is it to try to position themselves for Giannis right now? Are they really at the head of the pack, like some reports have indicated? I don't know. Conley, big part of their culture, big part of their locker room. He's gone now. If he gets bought out, the Knicks are eligible to sign him because he's making he's making less than the full mid-level. I don't know if Mike Conley's got anything less left. I do know he had a nice relationship with a certain former Timberwolf who's now on the Knicks. And if he could come in, Mike Conley, again, he needs to get bought out first. But even if he could come in and play the PJ Tucker role, like there isn't a more respected guy in the league than Mike Conley. So to say nothing of the fact that he may still be able to play a little backup point guard. So that's really interesting to me. Bulls, again, I don't know what the hell the Bulls are doing. And then did I forget anything? The Celtics. Oh, of course. Probably my most controversial stance, which is that I think the Celtics got a lot better today. Maybe not a lot better. That's the wrong phrase. With trading for Vooch, I think the Celtics got more dangerous today. Is Vooch a guy that's definitely going to be able to stay on the floor all the time in like every playoff game against every opponent? No. But he gives the Celtics something that they just definitively did not have before today, and that's the opportunity to go 5 out. And we know what the Celtics can do when they could go 5 out. They become in this unholy behemoth of an offense that becomes like a nightmare to guard. And you say, well, Vooch isn't Porzingis. Well, on defense, he's not Porzingis. On offense, go look at their 3-point percentages over the years. It's not that different. And by the way, he's probably a better post player. So I think they get more dangerous. I think, there are certain coaches in the league who you do not want to give their roster another dimension. And Joe Mazzulla is one of them, and you gave them another dimension today. And that, I'm not saying, I'm picking Boston in a series over the Knicks, but I mean, if Tatum comes back, that's maybe a different conversation, but just makes him tougher to guard. And if there's a coach in the league that I trust to be able to kind of game plan around Vooch's defensive deficiencies or minimize them through, lineup choices and selective minutes and this and that, it's Joe Mazzulla. So look, the Knicks, I mean, it's hard to put it any other way. I think the Knicks' task to win the East got a little tougher today. Detroit arguably improved. Boston arguably improved. Cleveland, say what you want about the long view, trading a guy who's however many years younger than Harden. Garland's, he hasn't been himself this year. So you could argue that Cleveland improved. Although, again, how does it work with Harden in the playoffs? Although he's not going to be the guy with the ball in his hands necessarily all the time, because you got Donovan Mitchell there too. So all those things, and then and now the ball's in the Knicks court, because I just named, all the other top teams in the East. Toronto maybe kicking the tires on Sabonis. That would be, I don't know that would necessarily strike fear into my heart, but like you replace Pirtle, who's been a disaster this year, with one of the, a good offensive center, that would make them interesting. And so look, I don't want to be talking head guy who's like, do something, Leon. Because it's not that, but you didn't get anything out of the Yabu signing. You got some chips to work with that won't. If you work with the chips, you have some chips you don't want to touch, and then you have some chips that you can touch and still maintain your asset package for a potential Giannis trade this summer if it comes to that. Between those chips that you have, that you will willingly access right now, and the fungible salaries that you have to work with between Yabusele and Dadier and Clarkson, and if you need to even tap into a Huck Porty or something, between all that stuff, go out and get someone who's going to help your team. There is no excuse not to be able to do that. Go out and get someone to help your team. Again, it was not that long ago. This is just the first trade that comes to mind. But that Dorian Finney-Smith was traded for, what was he traded for? 3 seconds, I think? 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or whatever the hell it was. We see this happen every deadline where guys get moved, and it's like, wow, not even a single first-round pick. If you got to throw 4 seconds into a deal to turn Yabu into something you could play, throw 4 seconds. You got to throw 5 seconds. It'll hurt, but you're the favorites, man. You're the favorites to get out of this conference. So strengthen your position and do what you got to do. Okay. That was a good idea, Mark. Hopefully that didn't take too long. All right, let us go through our best bets and a little bit of pain here. And you might say, well, why, Macri? Why is there a little bit of pain? Best bets, I see 2 greens and 1 red, 2 out of 3. That's never bad, right? Mensa, Wizards team total under 106.5 points. Great job. Andrew, Landry Shamet over 6.5 points. I think he covered that in the first half. And then the last one, Sean with a W. Knicks second half spread. They were given 6.5 points. And he took it. Smart man, because they were dominating the second half until and to just really hammer home how bad of a beat this was. The score of this game was 132 to 96 with under a minute to go. And the Wizards needed 5 more points in that final minute to cover. And they got 5 points in the final minute, including a prayer of a 3 with 16 seconds left. And that's what beat Sean's second half spread. I know we don't have a picture of it, but I am going to toot my own horn / lament my own pain, because I had the betting and sweating picks today. And so my 1 point bet, Knicks first half, given 7.5, bang. Alex Sarr over 6.5 rebounds. That was my out of town bet or opponent bet, bang. My parlay, Brunson 8 first quarter points, Cat 3 first quarter rebounds, bang. My best bet, OG Anunoby over 23.5 points, rebounds, assists, bang. And then my home run bet, which has to be plus 300 or more, I went with Tyler Kolek, 7 or more assists. And there was Tyler Kolek with 6 assists, given the pass to Dylan Jones for a wide open 3 with whatever it was, 20, 30 seconds left. And he bricks it. And that kept me from going 5 for 5. And it's just the pain. Oh, the pain. That's okay. I'll take my 4 out of 5. Not bad. I'm not going to complain too much. All right. Those are your best bets for tonight, presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. And good news, per Steve Popper, Josh Hart, Mohamed Diawara both walked out of the locker room without a walking boot. Good. And seemed like they were moving well. So that's also good. All right. Great stuff. By the way, before we move on to the first super chat, I'm going to start reminding folks of this for, Fanatics, the Fanatics Fest. It's like, what is it? 5 months away? When's July? 5 months away? 4 months away? 4.5 months away? Whatever it is. Get your tickets now and make sure you use the code. What is it? Mark, let me know. I should know the code by heart, but whatever the code is, I'll share with you guys in a second. But yeah, start getting your tickets for that, because that's going to be a fun. Lots more announcements coming. Where that's coming from. Okay, let's go to the super chats. See what we got. Kev, what's going on, Kev? Diawara gang, hashtag Coolmo3, hashtag CoolmoD. I think I like Coolmo3. We've gone over this before. I think I like Coolmo3. CoolmoD is good, but Coolmo3, he hits enough threes. So I like that. Andrew's texting me because I don't know the code off the top of my head. Andrew, what's the code? See, you don't know the code either. Making fun of me. Lito, you can just tell by his dribble when the possession is about to end with Clarkson. Yes. Listen, there's a reason he's not in the rotation anymore. It's not the end of the world. He gave them what he could give them. I think they're going to need him again. And I actually, me and Jeremy kind of went back and forth about this on our show yesterday, about whether it's like the worst thing in the world if Clarkson's here past the trade deadline. Jeremy thought it would be a very, like, a complete waste of a slot. I don't know if I feel that way. I don't know if I feel quite as strongly as Jeremy. But I would, I don't know, man. I can't fully quit Jordan Clarkson yet. I'll just say that. There we go. Film School 10. That's the code. Or no, sorry, not Film School 10. Knicks Film 10. Be easier for Film School 10. Knicks Film 10. That's the Fanatics code. See, I got it. It only took Andrew to tell me what it was. Okay. Thanks, Lito. Jack Corcoran, what's going on, Jack? Don't think my blood pressure got raised once. That's how we like it. BTA from the tip. Kudos for not fucking around. Prayers for Josh would be a brutal loss. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, no, I mean, with Josh, I'm just worried that he's going to miss tomorrow. And I would love to keep the winning streak going, But I guess, I don't know. If you could have Josh for tomorrow or you could have Josh for the Pistons game, you'd probably rather have him for the Pistons game, right? Not saying that it has to be one or the other, but yeah. I would like to keep the win. I like the winning streak. The winning streak is fun. Oh, we got a picture with Brunson with the thing on. With the yellow vest. We'll get that picture up here soon. By the way, Mark Stein reporting Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't want to go to Portland. So there you go. That's your update on the Giannis front. Thanks, Jack. Jeff Guitars, what's going on, Jeff? Story Clyde told about icing his ankles all night and sleeping in a chair was so cool. That was a good story. We're so lucky to have him. No playing with their food tonight. I was thinking about Clyde tonight. And I was specifically thinking, because he has a couple moments every game where you're like, we might be getting close to its time. But then he also has moments that like you're never going to be able to replicate, like the story about icing his ankles. And I was thinking about what is going to be the fan reaction when he decides to hang it up. And is it going to be an overwhelming, like, if he announces it, in, I don't know, September, whatever it is, like, and we go live to react to it. Is that a 4 super chat, 45-minute live stream, or is that a 4-hour thing? I'm genuinely not sure. I think obviously people appreciate Clyde, but I almost wonder if there isn't a significant part of the fan base that appreciates what he has brought over the years, but will also appreciate having some fresh blood in that seed and be thankful for the memories. And it doesn't mean obviously he's going to get all of his flowers on the way out, but I don't know. I was thinking about that earlier today, and I was wondering to myself what the reaction would be. So I guess we'll find out. Thanks, Jeff. Baltimore Corey, what's going on, man? It's going to get overlooked, but Huck's first 3. It was not overlooked by me, man. I tweeted about it in the moment, and we should have known that it was coming. 1, because he attempted one earlier tonight. Good for him. And 2, he attempted a bunch in the G League. This in whatever the game was where he played in Westchester. I think it might have been only 1 game, but I think he attempted 4 threes earlier in the G League season. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, is that, is he all of a sudden going to be a stretch 5 for us? I don't know about that, but look, keep adding to your game. Give teams an excuse to keep employing you. And hopefully he can carve out, a 10-year career for himself. That would be such a win, man. I mean, look, the fact that he's playing minutes for a good team last year and this year after being the 50 whatever pick in the draft, that in and of itself is a win. If he could carve out a real career for himself, God bless. It's even better. Thanks, Corey. Mr. Fabro, what's going on, Mr. Fabro? I am irrationally angry about the garbage men blowing the sub 100 point streak. Well, it was not a sub 100 point streak. It was a 100 or less point streak because the Lakers scored 100. I mean, 101 or less for 5 straight. Doesn't that mean something? I don't know. More importantly, where are they going to be in the defensive rating rankings after tonight? That's what I'm more curious about. Because I want that top 10 very badly, like irrationally so. I don't know why I want it as badly as I do, but just to see the Knicks being a top 10 defense this year of all years, after all of how bad they were for as long as they were, that would be really cool. Okay, so the rating is updated. They're 113.2, which I think went down a little bit. I don't know if it went down much, but it maybe went down a little bit. The Mavericks are in 10th. So the teams that are 10th and 11th, Mavs are in 10th, Celtics are in 11th. They're playing each other right now. So I don't know. Maybe we moved into 11th by the end of the night. Meanwhile, Knicks now must be by like a hundredth of a point or something, are now ahead of the Houston Rockets and have the 4th best net rating in the league. So Thunder's still best net rating, plus 12.1 per 100. Then you got Pistons plus 7.8. I don't think that's inclusive of tonight. Is it inclusive of tonight? No, maybe it is inclusive of tonight. No, it is not inclusive of tonight. Not yet. So that'll actually probably go down because they only won by 3 points. Boston, I mean, it's the best story in the NBA, plus 7.6 per 100. That is insane. And then Knicks plus 6, Rockets plus 6, Spurs plus 5, and then Timberwolves plus 4.5. So, yeah, man. How crazy is it? The second, third, and fourth best teams by net rating in the league are all in the East. This terrible Eastern Conference, right? Well, it's clearly not that terrible. And Knicks still third in offense, but by a nice margin over 4th. But they also trail the Celtics by a bit. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks, Mr. Fabro. Kevin Danishevsky, I love that JB plays his butt off every game, but please stop taking monster charges up 30. Also thankful Shamet doesn't miss anymore with Deuce out long term. Well, we don't know he's going to be out long term yet, but probably find that out soon enough. I would not change a thing about Jalen Brunson. To me, that shit that's tone setting, and I know there's been a lot of conversation this year about how good of a leader is Jalen really, like when there was whatever going on in the locker room. And I don't know, for all I know, maybe there are even players on the roster who like resent the attention. Not resent, that's too strong a word. But maybe aren't as like losing their minds in a positive way over like, oh, there's our captain taking charges, this and that. Maybe they're like, well, that's great, but also play some actual defense. You're never going to convince me that stuff is bad. I'm not. That's not what you're saying, Kev. I know. Look. Logically, you're right, Kevin. To be very clear, logically, you're right. I'm wrong. This is one of those few parts of me that are still that irrational fan that like, I don't know. I just love it. I love that our leader, our guy, our superstar does that stuff. And just that is his default. And you're not going to change it because that's how he's built, And I love that about him, and I would not want to change that about him myself, even though it's probably smart to do less of those things. Thanks, Kev. Appreciate you, man. Brunson better. Great name. Nitpicking because the team is on fire, but when do we get concerned about JB's pull-up 3? It's a weapon we need in the playoffs, and it hasn't really gotten it going consistently this season. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at his pull-up 3 numbers in a bit. I I've seen him make it. I think he's in a cold stretch right now. I think he's in a cold stretch right now. I am not. I think he's just in a cold stretch right now. I'm not concerned yet. That said, this season he is shooting on 4.4 pull-up threes per game. He's shooting 33.9%. So some comps. Maxi's at 38.3. Anthony Edwards, who's become a lethal shooter, 35.3. I'm not comparing him to Steph Curry because it's unfair to compare anyone to Steph Curry. Donovan Mitchell, 36.1. James Harden, the mighty James Harden, 33.9. Luka, who takes more pull-up threes than anyone by far, he's at 34.1. Now Luka takes some just stupid pull-ups, but essentially the same percentage conversion rate as Brunson on pull-up threes. LaMelo Ball, 32.4. Devin Booker, 26.4. SGA, my God, and he's obviously going to win the MVP, 39.3. So, look, if that number, if he goes on a 5-game hot streak where he makes half of his pull-ups, which is not out of the question, he's gonna be back, pretty close to his regular. I mean, last year, let me look at it right now. Last year, I got to think he was around 36% on pull-ups. I'm looking it up right now. As I look that up, if you want to throw the pictures up there, Mark. So last year on pull-up threes, Brunson, 4.1 attempts per game. So his attempts are up a little bit. He was at 37.1%. So, all right, there's a 37.1, and now he's at 33.9. So, yeah, but listen, I'm not. If he was sub 30, I'd be really worried. 33.9%. I'm not going crazy. All right, so we got the pictures here of Jalen Brunson in the Wizards, the visiting locker room, very proudly wearing his orange vest and hard hat. Everybody seems pretty excited around him. Oh, you got OG right there. That's nice. Cat's big smile. Josh happy. McCat, everybody's happy. It's a happy locker room. What is there not to be happy about? So there you go. Yabu looks yoked. Yes, Mark. Yabu does look yoked. I don't know what to do with that. He does. He looks yoked in the picture. It's absolutely accurate. Hush Zoo, what's going on? Nice win. Little rant. Leon is now 0 for 2 on superstars who wanted to be in New York. Wasn't he brought here for this reason? Seeing all these reports is frustrating. I think we got another couple from Hush. Let me address these all together. I know we're on a 7-game win streak, but I'm negative Nancy. And I'm negative Nancy, but the Wolves are in our exact position and they are working profusely to get the Greek. We should be doing the same. Next one. Cavs, in theory, got better. Boston got better. A pure marginal move for us does not move me, man. We've seen the lows. Do we really want to see this through? Okay. The other superstar you're referring to is who? That you said we were 0 for 2 on superstars. Who's the other superstar? Donovan Mitchell? I'm assuming, is that what he means? Probably. Okay. The summer of the Donovan Mitchell negotiations was at the time and will always remain somewhat fascinating to me because I said it at the time, and I think I nothing has really changed my opinion on this. I think Leon was trying to be, it was too cute by half. And not that I think he was trying to overplay his hand. I wouldn't say that, but I think he felt like he was operating from a position of strength and that he could afford to, not give in. I would argue that worked out for the best. Because look, not to say that if Donovan Mitchell doesn't wind up becoming a Knick someday, I wouldn't embrace that and be excited about it because I think it'd be cool to see that dude in New York. But you can very easily argue that there's no reason to believe that a Mitchell Brunson backcourt would work much differently than a Mitchell Garland backcourt would have. And Mitchell didn't get traded here, and Jalen Brunson has since emerged as a player that I personally prefer to Donovan Mitchell. That's just me. Other reasonable minds may differ. I think they're certainly comparable. But here's the thing. Donovan Mitchell was the whole reason why Leon Rose was trying to play his hand like that was because there was never any thought at the time, and this is why I disagree with your phrasing about 0 for 2 on superstars. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a superstar. He's a guy that, like, there's no question about it. You get him, he's the best player on your team, and it's about how are you going to put pieces around him. The whole thing with Donovan Mitchell was like, all right, well, you go get Donovan, you still need to have enough left over in the kitty to get something else. So how are you going to do that? So that's why he couldn't, and the whole thing about he was brought here to get superstars. He was like, fine, if he was brought here in part because of his relationships and to make other stars want to come here and make the Knicks desirable, guess fucking what? He did that. Donovan Mitchell wanted to be a Knick. He thought he was a Knick. He was ecstatic about it. Rose was trying to be careful about how he approached that situation. I criticized it a little bit at the time, and I'm not saying it's impossible to criticize it now, but to compare that and then this situation, this really just comes down to one thing. If you're going to criticize him, say, all right, it's not about making bringing in superstars or making the franchise more appealing or any of that. It's about intel and World Wide West and the CAA connections and all the different tentacles and, throughout the league. It's about knowing where things stand with stars around the league. And the question that, depending on how this era of Knick basketball ends, ultimately, the singular question, more than anything else by far, will always be, what did they know and what was there to be known about the Giannis Antetokounmpo situation when they made the Mikal Bridges trade? That's it. That's the only question. Because you could argue that, all right, he asked out this summer, probably had wandering eyes last summer when they made the Bridges trade. So, I think that's the only question. You want to fault him for that? I'm not going to begrudge you. But the notion that they are somehow behaving irresponsibly because they are not willing to mortgage half of the roster for Giannis Antetokounmpo, I have to push back on that pretty significantly. One, because they are not in the same position as a Minnesota team that is looking up at arguably 4 different teams in the West in Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Denver, and Houston. And I haven't even mentioned the team in LA that, employs Luka Doncic and LeBron. I mean, I think the Timberwolves are better than the Lakers, but still. And the other part of it is, like, OKC is not getting any worse. San Antonio is going to get better. Houston is going to get better. Denver's probably not going anywhere. LA is going to reshape their roster. So they are in a position where they don't have what it takes to win a championship now, I don't think. They have an infrastructure where, all right, we're going to keep Gobert, we're going to keep Anthony Edwards, we could bring in Antetokounmpo, we could still have enough. That said, I still am struggling to see a world where the Wolves can turn what they have, McDaniels and Naz Reid and whatever else, into enough picks and or young players to appease Minnesota, to appease Milwaukee. I give them all the credit in the world for trying. I really do. I give them all the credit in the world for trying. Are the Knicks in the same position as the Timberwolves where they should be upending everything and putting themselves in a position where, well, shit, we're probably going to be in a worse position this year to win the title than we would have been if we did not make the trade. And we are basically banking on making up that difference in years moving forward. Whereas in the Minnesota situation, the key difference, and it is a key difference, for the trade to happen for New York, there is really no feasible way to build a trade where Karl Anthony Towns is not going out. Like, he is the salary that has to go out. It's really real. I mean, there are ways, but I don't think they're feasible or realistic. So Karl has to go out. Karl has no trade value. Now, you want to fault Leon for trading for a guy that had no trade value? Well, he traded away a guy that had no trade value, and Dante DiVincenzo. That's fine. You want to fault him for that. You want to fault him for putting all of his eggs in Cat's basket. Again, I'm not going to begrudge you that. As you know, I'm not the biggest believer in Cat. Looked pretty good tonight. Made an all-star team. Had a pretty good year last year. We'll see what he does. He seems to be buying in more and more to this offensive system. He's certainly buying in defensively lately. So all the Cat stuff is trending in the right direction, but it doesn't change the fact he doesn't have a lot of trade value right now. / any trade value right now. So you'd have to send that piece out. So the biggest piece you are sending out is not giving you anything as far as the value to put into the deal. So that means you need to get your Antetokounmpo value in other places. In order to do that, that means you now are sending out that many more pieces because you need to make up that value deficit, which is why we're talking about trades where it's like, okay, it's Cat going out for the money, but also what can we get for OG and what can we get for Deuce? And we're sending out our future swaps. And oh my God, are we sending out Mikal Bridges too? Like these crazy teams where you have no team left. The Timberwolves aren't in that situation because their salary that they could send out, all that salary has value. Naz Reid, even at $25 million a year, he has value. And you might listen to what I said earlier and then hear what I just said now. Well, hold on, Macri. You're telling me that like the non-superstar players all of a sudden they don't have any value? No. Guys making high 40s, 50s, like Jaren Jackson Jr., like Trae Young, like Karl Anthony Towns, guys in that salary range, the value is not there anymore. A Naz Reid, who's making $25 million a year, that guy has value. A Jaden McDaniels, who you can plug and play, who's the most valuable asset on the Knicks outside of Jalen Brunson? You could argue actually maybe even more value to a lot of teams in the league than Jalen Brunson. So Anunoby. Why? What is OG Anunoby? He's a big fucking wing who can defend anybody and hits threes. What is Jaden McDaniel? Big fucking wing who defend anybody, hits threes, and has a little bit of an off-the-dribble game and an emerging offensive game that may have some upside still to it. So all of the big salary that they would be sending out to accommodate a deal has value. So they would not have to cannibalize their roster. Now, again, take everything I just said. You want to say, well, what, like, then they did a better job building their team than the Knicks did in building theirs. And again, I think you could make that argument. You know what helps a lot? You know what really fucking helps a lot in team building? When you get 2 number 1 picks, one that Tim Connolly inherited in Karl Anthony Towns, and then another one that in Anthony Edwards, who fell into his lap and happened to be what's going to turn out to be one of the better first overall picks in recent NBA history. He's the face of the league in terms of an American basketball player, you know? So it really helps to have those sorts of things. Leon Rose didn't get that benefit. You know, Jalen Brunson kind of fell into his lap. Okay. But that's why, for as critical as I am from time to time about Leon Rose, when you look at what he had to work with, when you look at the roster that he took over. Again, this is very different than saying he has done a perfect job. The man has not. No GM has done a perfect job. But when you look at everything in totality, and you look at what he was handed, and you look at everything he's done, and you look at the approach he's taken, even the moves that have come under fire this year, the Bridges trade, the Cat trade, some of the draft picks, you understood the rationale. They were defensible at the time, and you look at the team now, and what are we sitting complaining about? We're sitting and we're complaining about a team that currently is, I think, what are they, tied with the Pistons for the best championship odds on the conference? So, worst places you could be, I guess, would be my sentiment here. That's what I have to say to that, Hush. All right, let's do our stat of the game, courtesy of my guy, Jonah Kaufman. Stat of the game, 34, as in 34 assists. One shy of the team's season high. It's funny, I was looking at that number. I'm like, 34, it's a lot of assists. So they're 14-1 in games when they have at least 30 assists. That was a big marker for them last year. It's kind of you have to have your cake and eat it too, because a high assist number is indicative not only of that you've passed the ball well, but also that you have made shots. So, all 30 more assists, not surprised that they are 14-1 in those games. Fifth highest percentage of assisted field goals on the season. That's good. All 12 players who played tonight recorded at least one assist. That's good. And then the 30 assists by players not named Jalen Brunson, second most of the season, behind only a game where Jalen Brunson did not play. Very good stuff. I like that last part of that side. It's good stuff, Jonah. Very good. All right. That's been your stat of the game. All right, Oscar. What's going on, Oscar? Shout out to 25 for 80% shooting for 23 points and 2 blocks. Yeah, pretty good game from Mikal Bridges. Guy's been catching a lot of shit lately. Happy for Mikal. He's had a really nice season. He's had a really nice season. It's the one thing that I haven't really been able to get behind in terms of criticism this year. I'll hear criticism of Cat. I'll hear criticism of the coach. I'll hear criticism of Jalen Brunson even, to an extent. But yeah, the over the top criticism of Mikal is, I don't know. I was never quite on board with that. So glad he had a nice game. Thanks, Oscar. Lunas, what's going on, Lunas? Great to hear from you, man. Thanks for the contribution. Great win. I would love your thoughts on the trades. So I gave my thoughts on the trades, but I'll answer the rest of this one. I think the Cavs are insane, and a 15-35 Utah team trading 3 firsts. Their fans think they're a playoff team next year. I disagree. Could be a top 8 pick in a loaded West. So the pick next year, so they did trade away the worst of their own pick and then the pick of 2 other teams. Could that pick be a lottery pick? Absolutely. The Utah pick could absolutely be a lottery pick. I am looking at a situation with Utah, and I'm actually going to pull up their salary cap sheet right now, the multi-year salary cap. Here we go. Shout out to SPOTRAC. They just do a great job with this stuff. So next year, as of right now, they have Laurie under contract. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. under contract. And then it's all little money. The next highest. So they do have the Kessler restricted free agency, but here's the thing. Because Walker Kessler makes so little money, his cap hold for restricted free agency purposes is going to be very small. He's also coming off an injury, so you might be able to get him at a bit of a discount. So that's not going to be too much. You got Ace Bailey, the kid you just drafted. We'll see what he turns into at $9 million. And then you got this little money, Conchar at 6, Cody Williams at 6, Keontae George, who is he might be. Look, there are people who thought he should have been an all-star this year. So now you have Markkanen, clearly an all-star level player, even though he didn't make it this year because the Jazz stink. George moving into all-star range. Jaren Jackson Jr. has been an all-star defensive player of the year. Like, is that the best big three in the league? No, it's not the best big three in the league, but I think that's a pretty good three-man core that makes sense. And then you get Kessler back healthy. First of all, it's a massive front line. And then, I mean, if the Bailey kid could ever turn into something, and you got all these young kids, but my point is they will have money to fill out their bench a little bit. Like, even maybe it's not cap space, but like they'll have the full mid-level to use. Like there's going to be, they'll have they will have some team building tools at their disposal. And oh, by the way, you know what else they have? They still have a shit ton of picks to trade away from all of these trades that they've made over the years. Like, they traded away 3 firsts today, but I don't think that's going to make a huge dent. If they want to go out and they want to maybe try to this summer, again, I'm not saying they will or they should, but if they want to flip Ace Bailey and a bunch of picks, and maybe do like throw in some salary to build up money and get themselves like a real 2-guard, like they could do that in a heartbeat. Again, is that what they're going to, but my point is, like, they should absolutely go into next year being like, yeah, we'll be we should be a playing team. I don't think that that's crazy. Especially you look around the West, Kings stink. Pelicans stink. Mavs, we'll see. Grizzlies going into a rebuild. Clippers, who knows? So that's 4 teams right there. Now Dallas will be better. Portland, obviously, they're trying to do some stuff. We'll see. Warriors, who knows? Phoenix is obviously good, but look, it's a very competitive conference. I respect what they did. I respect them going out and getting. And by the way, let's say that the pick they end up giving next year, their own pick, is the 8th or 9th pick in the draft. That's probably worth it for Jaren Jackson Jr. And again, all this stuff is relative. Like, the Grizzlies may not have gotten a ton back for him. He's still a really good player. And if you're Utah, how are you accessing a player of that caliber? And that's the tough part. So, and they're not giving their pick up this year. Like, they are going to Jaren Jackson Jr., if he plays 5 games for them the rest of the season, I think I'd probably be surprised. They're going to keep that pick. And oh, by the way, on top of everything else I said, imagine if they get lucky in the lottery this year. Forget about that. Anyway, that's my take. We'll see if I'm right. Kevin Stokes, what's going on, Kev? OG not messing around anymore. No. Came out with a purpose tonight. He has been the Knicks MVP since MLK Day. I don't know about Knicks MVP. I'm here for he's been the Knicks best player probably since the Dallas game. I'll give you that. I think he's been the Knicks best overall player since the Dallas game. You actually just reminded me. Hold on. He missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's missed 10 games. So that means he can miss 7 more. It's going to be interesting because he played at a defensive player of the year level, arguably, for the first 11 games of the season. And now he is back to being at a top 5 defense level over the last 7, 8 games, whatever. Before that, not so much. But, if he continues playing at this level defensively for the rest of the season, so let's say another, what do they have left? 32 games? Even if he misses a couple of games, give him 30 more games of defense at this level, which is a lot to ask, but it's not impossible. 30 more games of defense at this level. So that's like, if he ends up playing like 50 out of 70 games at this level defensively, that he's absolutely should be on the all-defense team. But he's got to keep it up. Got to keep it up. Thanks, Kev. Lunas with another one. By Cavs insane, I mean they've lost their minds. Oh, that's what I didn't comment on for the Cavs being insane. I don't know what they know about Garland, about the injury situation with the toe or whatever else it is. I mean, look, you don't have to take it from me. Take it from the man they just traded for. What is James Harden? How does James Harden fit in your system? He doesn't. You know why? Because he is the system. So how does a guy who is the system, how is that going to work on a team with a dude who, look, Donovan Mitchell has absolutely sacrificed his own numbers and usage and the whole thing. He did it last year. Not as much this year because they've needed him to be a higher usage player this year because Garland's been out so much. So he could revert back, sure. But, like, how much do you want him sliding back? Like, if you have Donovan Mitchell on your team, guess what? You want Donovan Mitchell with the ball in his hands a lot. How's James Harden going to feel about that? A guy who already, his defensive effort is not always up to snuff. And then throw on top of that a guy in Evan Mobley who I think very, very clearly wants his own slice of the pie of the offense. And oh, by the way, you have Jared Allen, who just went out and scored 40 points the other night and is due $100 million over the next 3 years. Talk about contracts that have not aged wonderfully. You still got him on your team. So there's just so much going on. I'm fascinated. I cannot wait to see the first Cavs game with James Harden in a Cavs uniform. I'm utterly fascinated. I'm fascinated to see what the rest of their season looks like. I'm fascinated that they did this trade coming off of, what did they have? Have they won 5 straight games? 6? No, they lost recently. That's right. They lost to Phoenix. Before that, they had won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row. And then they lost by 13 at Phoenix, and then they just beat up Portland last night. And then they play tomorrow against the Clippers, of course. Be very interested to see if the trade becomes official by then. It's just a fascinating trade. I think they're a smart organization. I really do. I think they're a smart organization, but wait, I forgot this. Hold on. Who's their coach? Kenny Atkinson. Who was Harden there yet when Durant and Kyrie torpedoed Kenny Atkinson's coaching career in Brooklyn, or did they not trade for Harden yet? I should know this off the top of my head, but we should look that up. Completely forgot about that. Maybe the Harden trade was after that. Yeah. In any case. All right. Thanks, Lunas. Next up, Andrew. What's going on, Andrew? Congrats, Josh. 4,000 career rebounds. Did not even realize that was happened tonight. Jalen leagues on notice 3-and-D. Are we now Buffalo Wild Wings? Sure, why not? McCall high scorer. Yep. Josh Hartman, 4,000 career rebounds. That's pretty cool. Hold on. Let me do a little. Josh, okay. Now I'm curious about this. So, total rebounds. I'm curious where he ranks in terms of active rebound leaders. Let me see here. Total rebounds, active. So Here are some players that Josh Hart has more rebounds than in his career. Kristaps Porzingis, not a shock. Andrew Wiggins, Lauri Markkanen, Kevon Looney. Who else? Kyle Kuzma, not exactly a shock. Mitchell Robinson, he has 1,000 more rebounds than Mitchell Robinson. What else? Who is he close to? Next active players on the list: Kelly Olynyk, Luka Doncic, not catching Luka, Jason Tatum, Jakob Poeltl, Drew Holiday, Pascal Siakam has 4,500 career rebounds. Hart 4,000, so he's catching up there. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff for Josh Hart. 51st among active players. Mark is telling me Atkinson got fired before Harden got there. Okay. I had forgotten that. So maybe it'll probably be fine. Thanks, Andrew. Danishevsky, 53-win pace. That's pretty cool. Freak doesn't want Portland per Stein. Yes, saw that. Poor Lemon. Don't worry. Lemon Meringue's going to be fine. All of his players are making the Hall of Fame. It's totally fine. He doesn't need it was like the attitude of some Knicks fans I made fun of before the season. We don't need Giannis. Portland, we don't need Giannis. It's totally cool. They're fine. They got Tamani Kamara, who's like if you crossed Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen with Jim Thorpe. It's so sour. Thanks, Kevin. Another one from Kevin. I really do crack myself up. With Cleveland, a mess is spite of possibility if no Giannis. I mean, not right now, Ian. This summer? Oh my God. So I know he's extension eligible this summer. What does he have on his deal? Does he have one and then a player option? I'm assuming he has the one and then a player option. Donovan Mitchell contract. A lot of money. A lot of money. Yeah, it's next year and then the player option. It's gonna be 30. What's the trade? What's the trade? I don't. I guess bridges and stuff. I don't know. How does that work? Brunson, Mitchell, Cat, OG, Josh. I don't know, man. Does that make sense? Does the backcourt make sense? Maybe it does. I mean, listen, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell. If there's two guys that I could probably, I would bet money on figuring out how to make it work. I think those two guys would probably figure out how to make it work. But I don't know. It's not where I'm going to have my attention directed. Thanks, Kev. And then last two. Oh, it's Andrew Claudio. Hello, Andrew. Thank you for the generous contribution. I just want to personally thank Leon Rose for using his relationships to get us Jalen Brunson and all of his CAA friends. Very glad the sky isn't falling anymore, nor do we need to turn to James Harden to save us. It's not where you want to be as a franchise, I'll say that. And then one more. Also, stop fearing every other team in the East. Hashtag Knicks in 6. It's not fear, Andrew. It's not fear. You respect your opponent. That's it. It's respecting the opponent. That's all I do. I respect the opponent. If there's an opponent out there, you know that I will respect them. And that's all I'm doing. Speaking of Boston, they won again tonight, of course, because they just win every game now. All right, what do we got going on right now? We got Golden State Philly going on. All right, I'm going to turn on that game. And and what do we got tonight? We got Phoenix Portland. There's a barn burner. I'm sure Lemon's keyed up for that one. Okay. All right, I think that's it. Thanks, Mark. Great stuff. Mark, anything you want to say before we get out of here? No, he's good. Mark's good. All right. So what do we got? We got trade deadline. So tomorrow, I'm going on the putback. So you can catch me with Ian and I don't know who. They usually get someone pretty good to come on right before the trade deadline. So I have no idea who I'm going to be on with, but I'm sure they're going to be good. I think that's at 1:00. So check that out. What else? We got post game tomorrow night. I'll be on that one. Watch along tomorrow. We'll do watch along. I don't know who I'm going to be on the watch along with, but I'll be on the watch along with someone. What time is that game start? Is that a 7:30? That's 7:30 start time, right? Got to be 7:30 start time. Yeah. 7:00 start time. Excuse me. 7:00 start time. So ESPN game. So yeah. Watch along post game, and then trade deadline extravaganza. We're getting going at 2:00 on Thursday. So mark your calendars for that. You could do all these other wonderful things to support the show. Follow us at Knicks Film School, SKOOL on your socials. Don't forget, because we go live whenever something happens. I know there hasn't been a trade yet, but that's the other thing. If and when they make a trade before, we get right down to the deadline, we're going to go live, right away. So make sure you not only are subscribed to the Knicks Film School YouTube channel, but have those alerts turned on. And then if you want to turn them off after the deadline, you could do that, but you should have them on for right now. You could obviously subscribe for bonus content. I keep touting them because they're just so good. Benji and DJ, again, couple of absolute bangers. DJ with a great film breakdown. There's been all this conversation for anybody interested. All this conversation about, the Knicks, now they're funneling to the baseline. They're icing the pick and roll as opposed to funneling middle. And what exactly does that look like? And is that a good idea? And why are they doing it? And what are the benefits? And how are they executing it? How does that factor in with the other good things that they've been doing defensively? DJ Zullo, in his latest film breakdown for the Knicks Film School Patreon, he breaks all of it down. It is a exemplary 17-minute video with all obviously great clips from Laker game, from I think some clips probably from the previous game also. Just fantastic stuff from DJ. And then Benji adding on to that with his grade book, he goes into a lot of the stuff that has changed recently, specifically on the defensive end, which speaks to, why they are playing or defending so much more, effectively of late. So definitely subscribe to the Knicks Film School Patreon. You will not be upset that you did. And if even that's not enough for you, you can always subscribe to the Knicks Film School newsletter on Substack, where I get to write about this team every day, and you could read my thoughts. Okay. Last thing. Watch party Friday, Penn 6, West 31st, right down the block from the Garden. Free admission. Please register. It's there's a link that is there is a link there. There's a registration. I'm looking at it. bit.ly/KFS Watch Party DET. Yeah, there we go. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll type that in the chat. If you could obviously just show up. You don't have to register, but we're trying to get an idea of how many people are coming. So if you can register. If not, just come down. It's going to be a great time. There'll be drink specials, food specials, and that'll get started again at 7:00 this Friday, Penn 6. How cool would it be if we brought an 8-game winning streak into that game? We will find out whether or not we do that tomorrow against Denver. They always play Denver well. Cat plays Denver well. Cat plays against Jokic well. I got a good feeling about tomorrow night. Hopefully not famous last words, but I got a good feeling about tomorrow night. And we again, these 8 or 9 game winning streaks is what we're known for. 7-game winning streak is just, nah. 8-game winning streak. That's where it's at. So, all right. That's it. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you soon. Peace out.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.